You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, ACC family? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Ross the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, baby, we are going to name or rank the ACC's mascots from first to worst. And in the process of naming those daggone mascots, we're going to take a look at each school's mascot history, some interesting facts, and why they chose to be called what they're stinking called, bro. This is not the Logos edition, okay? That's for another video. This is strictly the mascot edition. But before we have some fun with this ranking, if you like this kind of content, do your boy a solid, man, and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this content with all of your ACC friends so we can start the conversation, start the debate, man. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time that your boy makes a stinking video. So let's get into the ACC mascots rankings from worst to first. And the honor of the worst mascot in the Atlantic Coast Conference goes to the Stanford Cardinal, dude. Take a look at this monstrosity, bro. And if you're anything like me, you have got to be wondering inside, how in the world did we get here, dude? Meet the Stanford tree. Now, what's important to first understand is that the Cardinal, the Stanford Cardinal, it's not the songbird, right? It's not like the state bird of the great state of North Carolina. No, the Cardinal is after the color cardinal. And it's supposed to represent the tree, El Palo Alto, which is on the official Stanford seal, as well as the municipal seal of Palo Alto, which is the city that Stanford University is located in. Now, from 1930 to 1972, the Stanford sports teams were known as the Indians. And from 1951 to 1972, their mascot was Prince Lightfoot, who was a member of the Yurok tribe. But because that was deemed an offensive name, it was officially abolished. And then finally, after much deliberation and an inability to come to an agreement on a name for the sports teams for Stanford University, in 1981, Donald Kennedy, the president at the time, announced that all teams would be officially represented exclusively by the color cardinal, hence the Stanford Cardinal. And then in 1975, the tree was eventually embraced by the Stanford community, and it became a staple at the sporting events. I mean, dude, look at this dude, okay? He's got a fisherman hat and an angry face, okay? And goodness gracious, if you look at the older versions of this, it's even worse, bro. But if I'm wearing this costume, which I already wouldn't be a fan of donning these kind of costumes anyway, you're trying to tell me that I got to show my legs in this bad boy? That's ridiculous. And that's why you, Stanford Cardinal, have the worst mascot in the ACC. Number 16, the Virginia Tech Hokies, or more commonly known as the Turkeys, okay? You can try to church this thing up all you want, my friend, but we know what you are, a turkey, okay? The official mascot of the Virginia Tech Turkeys, or they're the Hokie Birds, okay? That is what the official mascot is. It's the Hokie Bird. Now, the word Hokie came after the Virginia Agricultural and Mechanical College, or VAMC, changed its name to Virginia Polytechnic Institute, or VPI, and they needed a new cheer. So there was a contest with a $5 reward for the individual that could produce the best cheer, and it went to class of 1896 grad Mr. Oscar Meade. And it went a little something like this. I'm going to do my best. Hokey, hokey, hokey high, Tex, Tex, VPI, Solarex, Solara, Polytex, Virginia, Ray, VPI. Man, if that doesn't get your stinking blood boiling, I don't know what does. Now, interesting fact is that the team was actually more commonly referred to as the Gobblers up until 1980, which is largely attributed to a Mr. Taylor Adams, class of 1909, who said the following. Was first applied to the members of the football squad because of their gargantuan appetites. The excess avoirdupois of these Neanderthals were sustained by bigger and better feeding of growly, which is the cadets' term for food, than were given to the lowly proletarians of the corps. They fed, I remember, with a voracity of barracuda at special so-called training tables. Their gobblings of food were legendary and naturally gave rise to their unfortunate pseudonym. Hopefully that gave you a little clarification. You know, it's 1800s, right? Early 1900s, man. Just trying to set the tone. Trying to set the tone, dude. But now they're the Turkeys. I mean the Hokies. And if you take a look at this guy, somebody needs to get him a napkin for the booger that's hanging from his face, okay? And you can only be so cool when your mascot is celebrated in turkey fryers and ovens nationwide on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that is why you, Virginia Tech, come in at number 16 with the Hokies. Number 15, the Syracuse Orange. Meet Otto, the Orange, okay? He's an orange. A human-like orange with arms and legs, okay? Now, I just want to bounce this dude a couple of times between my legs, maybe a couple of behind the backs, practice a couple of free throws, you know, some turnaround jumpers. Dude, he looks like a basketball, okay? I'm just saying. Now, the Orange, before people got in those daggum feelings again, used to be known as the Orangemen. Now, their old mascot was the Saltine Warrior, who the local Onondaga Indians found offensive, allegedly, and he was used from 1931 to 1978, and it was based on a legend about Ogikita Hashinagata, a 16th century leader of the Onondaga Nation. He was then retired and replaced by, yours truly, Otto, the Orangeman. And then they dropped the men off of Orangemen to be more gender neutral. Goodness, I'd be stinking kicking and screaming if I was a Syracuse fan. Went from a daggum warrior to an actual orange, or the color orange, whatever, dude. But for all of these reasons, you Syracuse coming in number 15 with Otto. Now, the number 14 mascot in the ACC, meet the Duke Blue Devil. Now listen, this has nothing to do with the fact that I absolutely despise this school, and everything to do with the fact of how silly this mascot is. First off, devils aren't blue. Secondly, why in the world does he have elf ears and a superhero mask and a cape, okay? Why does he slap a piece of tape across his forehead and write some silly saying on it? Dude, let's just take a look at the history, okay? Now, Duke was previously referred to as Trinity College and was looking for a name after they lifted their quarter-century ban on football after World War I. Now, they were initially known as the Trinity 11, the Blue and White, or the Methodists, as opposed to the Wake Forest Baptist, okay? Now, the Trinity Chronicle took ideas from the public on what the name should be, and ideas like the Blue Titans, the Blue Eagles, the Polar Bears, the Blue Devils, Royal Blazes, and the Blue Warriors were pitched as possible names for Duke University or Trinity College. Now, the Blue Devils gained steam after pushback assuaged, understanding that Blue Devils was military-based and patriotic as opposed to being anti-Christian, right? You gotta think. All these kids going to Trinity, college, which is supposed to be a Methodist university, and people are saying, hey, we should call you the Blue Devils. Probably gonna be a little bit of pushback until they were able to see that this was supposed to be a military-based and patriotic name. Now, the name refers to the, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, I'm not French, but the Chaussois Alpines, also known as Les Diables Bleus, or the Blue Devils, okay? A French, not American, a French military unit. And that's what they stinking went with, man. A Christian American college names themselves the Blue Devils after a French military unit. And that's why you, Duke University, come in at number 14 due to the oxymoron that is your university name and mascot. Goodness gracious, bro, that felt good to get off of my stinking chest. All right, number 13. Meet Oski the Bear, the official mascot of the Cal Berkeley Bears. And this should be better because I completely understand why you are the Bears, right? It's on your state flag, and if I was a stinky Californian, I'd be repping that hard too, dude. But why does this guy look like the character in a children's story? Matter of fact, he looks like one of those robotic animals at a Chuck E. Cheese, okay? You couldn't do any better than that, Cal. Come on, man. Let's look into the history. Now, Oski was named after the Oski Yell, which is a spirit yell for the Cal Bears. And it goes a little something like this. Once again, I'm going to do my best. Oski wow wow, whiskey wee wee, Oli mucky eye, Oli Berkeley eye, California, why? That's not a joke, man. Look it up. And hopefully that got your juices going like it did mine. Now, Oski's name, design, and character were developed by William Rocky Rockwell, who was the first student to play the role, and he first appeared in 1941. But he still looks like a Chuck E. Cheese character, and for that reason, Oski the Bear is relegated to number 13 on our list. Number 12, next up, meet Peruna, the official mascot of the SMU Mustangs. Now, he is a feisty black miniature stallion that first made his appearance at a pep rally back in 1932. And I just can't get over the miniature part. He is legitimately a Shetland pony. All right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but a Mustang is a majestic free-roaming horse descended from horses brought to the Americas by Spanish conquistadors. And you guys have a miniature horse as the mascot. Get a full-size horse, dude. Even the mascot, Peruna, could be even mistaken for a donkey. I'm talking about the guy that actually gets in the suit. He kind of looks like a donkey, man. So let's get into the history. The first football teams at SMU were unofficially named the Parsons because of the large number of theology students that were on the team. But in 1917, the name Mustangs won out over the Bisons and the Greyhounds. The contributor of the winning Mustangs was President Heyer's secretary, Miss Dorothy Amon, who was watching the team practice from her office and said, "Why, out there on the football field, it looks like a bunch of wild Mustangs." Once again, man, a little, just trying to set the tone, set the stage. Now, the mascot was named Peruna after a popularly patented medicine. Had to slow that down so I didn't get all tongue-tied, which contained 18% alcohol, and it was named that, and it was named that because it was full of kick. So that's why they said, hey, the Mustang mascot should be named Peruna because it's full of kick. You get what they did there? Now, SMU is currently on Peruna 9, who exchanged reigns with Peruna 8 during the SMU versus Central Florida game back in 2011. But Peruna being an actual Shetland pony sounds kind of funny when he should be a thoroughbred, and the actual mascot resembling the Democratic National Convention symbol brings Peruna in at number 12. Number 11. Meet Rock the Panther, the official mascot of the Pitt Panthers. He's brown, he's got green eyes, and he rocks a jersey. Could definitely pass for a kitty cat. Sorry, Hutch, I still love you, brother, but let's get into the history, man. Now, the Panther mascot was named Rock in the 1990s to honor Steve Petro, and he was a former football player, assistant coach, and athletic department assistant who was nicknamed The Rock during his playing days. The University of Pittsburgh, which was formerly known as the Western University of Pennsylvania, adopted the Panther as their mascot in November of 1909. Now, they were formerly known as the Whoops, right? Pronounced Whoops because of the acronym Western University of Pennsylvania. But then George M.P. Baer, class of 1909, made the suggestion of the Panthers because it was the most formidable creature once indigenous to the region. It was recognized as a noble animal. It came off the tongue well with Pitt, right? Flows pretty well, Pitt Panthers. And its close approximation to the school's colors of old gold and blue. There's nothing inherently wrong with Rock at all. He's just a little plain and unassuming, and that's why I've got him at number 11. Once again, love you, Hutch, man. Number 10. The Boston College Golden Eagles, man. We're going to stay up in the daggum Northeast, and we'll meet Baldwin the Eagle, the official mascot of the Boston College Eagles. Now, the university came to be known as the Eagles when Reverend Edward McLaughlin, at seeing a newspaper, a cartoon, which represented BC as a cat after a track victory, wrote to the BC college paper, which is called The Heights, and this is what he wrote to them. It is important that we adopt a mascot to preside over our powwows and triumphant feats. And why not the eagle, symbolic of majesty, power, and freedom? Its natural habitat is the high places. Surely the Heights is made to order for such a selection. Proud would the BC man feel to see the BC Eagle snatching the trophy of victory from old opponents, their tattered banner clutched in his talons as he flies aloft. Intriguing. Now, the university had a live mascot that was named Margot until it passed away in 1966. And due to the creature being an endangered species, BC opted to go with a costumed mascot. I'm guessing that maybe, eagles are kind of hard to come by at that point. So he was named Baldwin. Bald as in bald eagle, and win as in we want to win, right? Clever. Now, this is a safe and unassuming selection, which is why it is nestled right here in the middle. Can't really go wrong with an eagle, but, it's a very common name, man. Safe and sound for BC, and that's why it's right there at number 10. Next up, meet the Tiger, the official mascot of the Clemson Tigers. And some of you might be a little surprised by this ranking. I mean, a tiger, right? It's beautiful, badass animal, dude. But despite how awesome a tiger is, it is the third most used mascot in the country. And what do you know? That Clemson, according to the research that I could find, they borrowed the name from the Princeton Tigers in 1896, back when the Princeton Tigers were a dominant football team. But then you look and you see that other sources say that former President Walter Riggs brought the nickname over from his alma mater, the Auburn Tigers. Either way, the lack of originality from Clemson is what's got it up here, man. The tiger doesn't look bad. He's rocking the jersey. Obviously, tigers are stinking cool animals, dude. But, we'll stick you right here in the middle, dude. It's a little punishment once again, just like BC, for the lack of originality. Number 8. Let's meet the Caveman, the official mascot of the Virginia Cavaliers. Now, Caveman has a massive dome. I mean, just a massive dome under a plumed hat, and he's dressed in an orange and navy cape. He's got a little sword. He's supposed to resemble a swashbuckling cavalier from the antebellum South, and he has been the mascot since 1984. Now, interesting factoid here is that UVA's first mascot was a black and white mongrel dog named Beta after a fraternity out there. He was unfortunately struck by a vehicle in 1939 and replaced by Seal, who was also a black and white mongrel dog, who was cross-eyed allegedly, and he was the school's mascot until 1953. And then there was this thing. Let you do with that what you will. The Caveman is, I give him a little juice because he rides out on a stinking horse, bro. He's got the sword and stuff, man, but this feels like an appropriate spot compared to some of the other teams in the conference, and that's why I have the Caveman at number 8. Number 7, meet Mr. and Mrs. Wolf, the official mascots or something like that of NC State. Now, I'm going to be extremely petty here for a second, and I'm going to point out, one, that a pack is, I think it's more than 2. Maybe it's 2. Well, you know what? We'll go with it, dude. But Mr. Wolf, he gives me Willy's Wonderland vibes. Anybody ever seen that movie, dude? He's got the black hair and all the NC State logos, but then his actual mascot has like gray hair on the costume. Just not making a ton of sense to me, dude. And you couldn't possibly think I was going to say something nice about you, did you, NC State fans? So let's dive into the history. Prior to being named the Wolfpack, NC State sports teams were known as the Aggies, the Techs, and the Red Terrors. Since the 1960s, State has been represented by Mr. and Mrs. Wolf. It's cute. Now, the nickname Wolfpack allegedly came from a letter to a local paper that said NC State fans were as unruly as a pack of wolves at football games. Multiple newspapers then ran with the name and started referring to NC State sports teams as such, the Wolfpack. Now, I actually like what former NC State Chancellor Colonel John Harrelson said after returning from service during World War II. In an effort to change the name from the Wolfpack because of its association with German naval tactics, he is quoted as saying, and I quote, "The only thing lower than a wolf is a snake in the grass," end quote. Tip of the cap to you, Colonel. Tip of the cap. Now, NC State's lack of creative ability was in full force when an attempt to garner another name from the student body, names such as the North Staters, the Cultivators, the Pine Rooters, which is an Eastern North Carolina name for pigs, the Auctioneers, the Calumet. I mean, these are stinking real winners, dude. They settle on the Wolfpack, dude. And a myriad of reasons, Mr. and Mrs. Wolf come in at number 7. Number 6, meet Louis the Cardinal, the official mascot of the Louisville Cardinals, man. He's a Cardinal, and his name is Louis because some people call it Louisville. And he's gritting his teeth, bro, which as far as a mascot goes, I kind of like it, man. He's supposed to look mean. It's not like Mr. Wolf and Mrs. Wolf, who I'd let my small child run up and give him a big hug. No, Louis is there for business, dude, and he skydives into Cardinal Stadium for each home game, which is badass in and of itself. Now, the Cardinal was chosen as the mascot back in 1913 because the Northern Cardinal is the state bird of Kentucky. Makes sense. He was first introduced in 1953 by Francis Goldsmith, and something cool about a Cardinal skydiving into the stadium for each home game while gritting his teeth, it really stinking gets me going, man. So because of that, Louis checks in here at number 6. We are finally at the top 5 mascots in the ACC. And before we jump into that, man, I want to just remind you to do me a favor, man. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you're getting any kind of enjoyment or fulfillment out of this video. Let's think and jump into the top 5, baby. All right. Number 5 on the list, man. Meet the Demon Deacon, who is the official mascot for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Now, the irony here, much like the case with Duke University, is that Wake Forest was initially founded as a Baptist college, and the university's mission statement emphasizes its Christian tradition, Baptist heritage, and ecumenical outlook. Right. Let's dig a little bit deeper, man. Now, the Demon Deacons nickname originated in 1922 after the school's football team won a game against Duke. A newspaper editor coined the term Demon Deacons to describe the team's devilish spirit. Now, the first person to really embrace the Demon Deacon mascot was a guy named Jack Baldwin back in 1941 in a game against UNC where he wore a top hat, a coat with tails, and an umbrella, and he became a crowd favorite. In the 1950s, he would climb all over the stinking goalposts. He rode a unicycle in the 70s, which is impressive in and of itself. I mean, especially wearing a daggum suit. And now the dude comes in there with a badass black and gold motorcycle, bro. It's like watching ZZ Top without the beard coming into the stinking stadium, dude. The Demon Deacon is actually pretty cool, man. It doesn't make much sense given the history of the university, but he is way cooler than the Blue Devil, and that's why he checks in at number 5. Number 4. Everyone meets Sebastian the Ibis, the official mascot of the Miami Hurricanes. And aside from Sebastian, obviously skipping leg day, he's a pretty cool dude, man. He's got the typical sailor hat that you see from these mascots, especially they kept that from the older days. And he's got the cool beak that he likes to pull in both stinking directions all the time. And that dude is always stinking hyped on the sideline, man. Let's dig into the history. Now, the Ibis was chosen as the official mascot in 1926 when the student body named the school yearbook the Ibis. The Ibis is known for its bravery when a hurricane approaches, and folklore maintains that the other birds look to the Ibis for leadership. It is the last sign of wildlife to take shelter before a hurricane hits, and it gives a warning that danger is imminent. And then as the storm passes, the Ibis is the first to reappear, which gives a sign that clear skies are approaching. Now, interesting fact is that the first official mascot for the Canes was a 65-pound brown and white boxer named Hurricane 1. Sebastian was created in 1957 by Norman A. Whitten, the director of the student union at UM, and was used as the homecoming competition entry. The next year, another student dressed as an Ibis at football games, and it became, that's what they went with, right? So another interesting fact is that the first Ibis's nickname was not Sebastian, it was Icky. It was later renamed after San Sebastian Hall, one of the dorms where the student who wore the costume was a resident. So there it is, an Ibis that braves hurricanes. That's a pretty stinking badass mascot, and that's why Sebastian checks in at number 4. Number 3 on the list. Meet Buzz the Yellow Jacket, man. Now, I love the concept of the Yellow Jackets, dude. It's actually pretty daggone badass, man. But Buzz with the droopy antennas, the black leggings, and to be completely honest, he looks like a cross between a bumblebee and an ant. Like if they got together and had a baby. Just think, it could look better though, right? And one of the things that they do have is the Ramblin' Wreck to swoop in and save the day. Let's dive in to the history. The term Yellow Jackets has been used to refer to the Georgia Tech fan base as early as the 1890s because they would wear yellow jackets to support the team. Now, the early teams lacked gold fabric for their uniforms, so they rocked the yellow and John Heisman informed the Atlanta Journal that he wanted his team to be referred to as the Yellow Jackets. The first Yellow Jacket costume was worn by a Mrs. Judy McNair, who wore the uniform at a football game in 1972, and it became a hit with the fans. Then in 1979, another student paid a theme park costume designer $1,400 to make a Yellow Jacket costume. And by wearing said costume, he was able to sneak on the field, making everyone believe that he was supposed to be there. Now, Buzz rides in on the 1930 Ford Model A Sport Coupe that leads the football team out in all the home football games. And it truly is one of the better game day events in the Atlantic Coast Conference, man. So the wreck comes in and saves the day for Buzz, right? If it was just Buzz, he would be a little bit higher up on there, dude. But coming in a 1930 Ford Model A Sport Coupe, that kind of puts them at number 3, dude. Just pretty cool whole situation they got there with Buzz and the 1930 Ford Model A. So, and now we're down to the final 2 mascots in the ACC, man. And number 2, we're going to go with Ramesses, the official mascot of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, Ramesses is a badass looking dude. He's got the stinking angry eyebrows and the perfect ram's horns, complete with the football jersey. But what I love about Ramesses compared to some of these other mascots is that Ramesses looks like he actually lifts. Like, he looks like he lifts heavy. I don't know why some of these other mascots, like, their guys don't look like athletes, man. So Ramesses gets a big check mark just for stinking looking like he lifts, right? I'm just saying. So some of you guys might be asking yourselves, though, what does a ram have to do with a Tar Heel? What the hell is a Tar Heel? Well, let's delve into the history, man. Now, first, there are a couple of stories to how the Tar Heel name came to be a moniker to refer to North Carolinians. The first is simply derived from the state's production of naval stores, tar, pitch, turpentine. They were extracted from the large pine forests of the state, and for several years before the American Revolution, the colony shipped tens of thousands of barrels of tar and pitch annually to England, and they started naming them, Tar Heels. It was kind of like a slap in the face kind of term, right? But my personal favorites are the 2 following. Number 1, my least favorite one, is the idea that General Cornwallis's troops walked through the Tar River in May of 1781, and they emerged with tar on their feet, and it was presumably dumped in the river to prevent the British from capturing it. But my real favorite rendition is the Civil War version, where in a fierce battle in Virginia, where their supporting column was driven from the field, North Carolina troops stood alone and fought successfully. The victorious troops were asked in a condescending tone by some Virginians that retreated, okay? The Virginians that retreated, they said, "Any more tar down in the old North State, boys?" And the response was, "No, not a bit. Old Jeff's bottled all up," right? They said, "Is that so? What's he going to do with it?" That's what the Virginians asked. And the Tar Heels said, "He's going to put it on you and heels to make you stick better in the next fight." So North Carolinians didn't run, and the Virginians retreated, man. So that's what a Tar Heel is. You say, what is a Tar Heel? Well, that's my favorite rendition, man. It's a term of pride because we don't retreat. I like it. I'm proud of it. Not ashamed of it. It means something to the state, and I'm proud to be a Tar Heel. Now, the question that you might be asking yourself is, why a ram? Well, the tradition began in 1924 when cheerleader Vic Huggins was inspired by a fullback on the football team named Jack Merritt, who was nicknamed the Battering Ram. Now, he borrowed $25 from Charles T. Woolen, the university's business manager, and he shipped the ram in from Texas, right? Now, Ramesses, the actual one that's down there on the field, okay, is actually a Dorset horn sheep. And he has his horns painted Carolina blue before every home game. And back when UNC's football field was surrounded by hedges, he would sit there and just absolutely go to town during the game. And I love that guy. Ramesses is one of the most easily recognized mascots in college sports. And that's why my guy checks in at number 2. And the best mascot in the Atlantic Coast Conference goes to the Florida State Seminoles, man. Meet Chief Osceola and his faithful horse, Renegade, the official symbols of the Florida State Seminoles, man. And this is the hardest mascot in the Atlantic Coast Conference, dude. Running out onto the field with a flaming spear and chucking it into the ground at the 50-yard line, dude. It's absolutely wild. And the simple fact of the matter is that Chief Osceola and Renegade, have been supported by the Seminole tribe in Florida. And they work hand in hand with Florida State University to make sure everything is done respectfully and with dignity, man. And it is one of the most awesome spectacles in all of college football, man. I mean, Osceola coming out there on Renegade in full Native American garb with a feathered spear, and that bad boy's on fire, and he spikes that thing into the ground after Renegade comes up on 2 stinking legs, and there's 80,000 Florida State fans doing the stinking war chant. Oh my goodness, bro. It's what college football is all about, man. It's what you dream of. You dream of playing in atmospheres like that, dude. And I appreciate that the Seminole tribe of Florida has continue this this whole thing with the university, or Florida State University, because it is one of the greatest spectacles in all of college football, man. It's unbelievable. It's I just can't say enough about it, man. It's one of my favorite things to watch is Osceola and Renegade come out there in front of a packed house at Doak Campbell Stadium, man. And I don't think that there's a cooler. I mean, he's a warrior, dude. I mean, he's a warrior, and they take pride in that stuff, and they're not ashamed of it. And I appreciate them for that, man. So that concludes the daggum list from worst to first of the ACC's mascots. So you let me know what you think about this list down in the comment section. ACC family, man, let's go ahead and chop it up down there. You let me know where I got this thing all wrong, and you let me know where I got this thing all right, so we can start the debate, we can start the conversation, and we'll have a good time during the offseason. Once again, if you like this kind of content, man, hit that like button, like, share, and subscribe to the daggum channel. For me personally, it is a great day to be a Tar Heel, and we'll catch you on the next one, baby.